Hello and welcome to Green Queens.
With myself, Abby Dewhurst, and herself, Imogen Bogle.
Oh, Abby, we have a really exciting guest today. Can you tell us a little bit about who we're speaking to?
I know, the first guest of Series 5, and somebody that we've actually had on our guest wish list pretty much since the podcast launched, because our guest is called Daisy Harvey. She is a British fashion entrepreneur and founder of an app called the Loom App, which just so happened to launch February 2025, which is also when the Green Queens podcast launched. So we have there's lots of kind of synergy between us and her business. We were saying as well before we started recording, it's cool to be able to chat to somebody who's quite early on in their founder company journey. I'm really excited to get into the nitty gritty of what that sort of situation has been like. And for anybody that has not heard of Loom, it is incredibly creative. She has completely flipped the fashion industry on its head and turned upcycling into something that is kind of cool and is accessible and is something that we should be considering far more with our own wardrobes, and just really helping us kind of reimagine the clothes that we already own. Daisy's mission, I saw this quote unquote, is to make upcycling mainstream, fun and accessible for everyday fashion lovers. So she is an icon and a true Green Queen.
So for anyone who is listening along, whilst you have us in your little ears, go onto the app, go onto her Instagram, or do any of the above and just have a look at some of the creations, things that have turned from fairly like normal items of clothing into something absolutely extraordinary. Through the Loom app, they are connecting people like you and me to fabulous designers. So it's just so cool. And as we went through this podcast, I could both sense that we were both just imagining the things in our wardrobe being like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this. So I think safe to say, follow us along on social media over the next few months as we kind of go through the Loom app journey ourselves. But in the meantime, let's meet Daisy.
Yay. Daisy, it is so lovely to have you on the Green Queens podcast. I'm so desperate to know where your journey in this industry began, because you have worked in the fashion industry for quite some time, haven't you? So how did you get into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I didn't study anything to do with fashion. So I actually studied English and French lit at uni. But it was while I was at uni, I was like, okay, I definitely want to work in the fashion industry. Love how creative it is. And quite simply just applied for a graduate job. So my first job was a buying and merchandising placement at TK Maxx. So I ended up being there 5 years, yeah. So that's kind of how I got into it and just loved being in the industry, and then ended up working at places like Hunters and Burberry. So yeah, kind of fell into it in a way.
And throughout that time, was there sort of an aha moment where you were like, things could be done a little bit differently and there's a huge opportunity here? Was there a light bulb moment?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I was working at TK Maxx for 5 or 6 years. And while I was there, I guess there was two things happening at the same time. And one side of it, I was realizing or learning more and more about sustainability and how, I mean, we all know this now, but how harmful it is on both the people in the supply chain and the environment. And I realized that the work that I was doing wasn't having any kind of positive impact in that respect. And then also I was feeling that I was this kind of tiny cog in this huge machine, and that I wasn't really having any impact on that other side of my life as well. And so those kind of two things came together where I was like, I just feel like I need more purpose in my life, and I want to make sure that whatever work I'm doing, I'm at least trying to have a positive impact with it. So that's kind of what gave me the push to start my first business.
So do you think that you'd have, like, were you kind of an environmentalist before, or do you even describe yourself in that way? Do you think that the fashion industry really opened your eyes to what was going on and then it's happened? I think Imogen and I both didn't grow up being, hardcore environmentalists. I don't think many people of our generation did, but it's just been a case of learning how we go. So I'm conscious, like, do you think that knowing what went on from an insider's perspective maybe like fast forwarded you or fast tracked your feelings towards the environment?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it was I think that's kind of what kickstarted it, was starting to learn about it in my own industry. And then, well, you know what it's like on social media. You start looking at one thing and then you're targeted with all these other
Mm.
things. And I was learning more about the crisis that we're in, I guess. And it was kind of like a bit of a shock, where I was even like, you know, the amount of plastic that we consume. And once I started thinking about one thing and another, it kind of, for a while, it became a bit overwhelming, where I was like, oh my God, like I need to make so many changes. Like, where do I even start? So I think I would call myself an environmentalist.
Mm.
And it is funny because now, like, particularly with fashion, if my friends like buy something from like a fast fashion brand or something, and I'm like, oh, I love what you're wearing, where did you get it from? They'll be like really embarrassed to tell me, and I'm like, there's no shame. But I think I've become that person in my friendship group.
I think Abby and I have also become that person in our friendship groups, but it doesn't just extend to fashion. People would be like, I flew there, don't hate me. I'm like, no, you're doing other things in your life. But that must have been an interesting challenge, to be having your eyes open to what was going on in your industry, but also being in an industry that you so deeply adored, and sort of squaring those two things together. How did
Yeah.
that feel at the time?
Yeah, I think it was difficult because for a little while I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, because I really enjoyed working in the fashion industry and taking sustainability out of it. I was like, I want to be working here, but now it's not really aligned with my values in the work that I'm doing. And I was like, well, how can I marry these together? Um, and so it was a little bit of a dilemma, where I was just confused, and I was like, I don't really know what to do. And it was a bit stressful. And also, when you've been in a really like comfortable job for a long time, the thought of leaving it or doing
Mm.
anything like that, it's quite intimidating. And it's like really putting yourself out there.
Mm.
So it was
100%.
a bit of a scary time, I guess.
But so brave. And there will be so many people that have that thought or that yearning or that, you know,
Mm.
that longing to pivot, and for whatever reason just don't feel like they can, whether it be, you know, financial reasons, or maybe they want to start a family.
Mhm.
And I don't know of many people that have done it and that have regretted doing
No.
the career shift. So it's so interesting that you kind of reference that and bring that up, because I think quite a few people could see it as, well, you stayed in fashion, but actually, you know, it's a completely different way of life for you now,
Mm.
being a founder.
Yeah.
Loom wasn't the first thing that you founded, though, was it? You did something before
No.
Loom.
Yeah, so the first business that I set up was called Luft, and it was I mean, it was essentially like a smaller, like Net-a-Porter, and it was just for sustainable brands. So it's like a curated collection of small independent brands. Um, and we did a Kickstarter with friends, where you could like buy a jumper to support the launch, which was really scary, because that was kind of going out to like friends and colleagues.
Mm.
But that was successful. But then I basically made every single mistake that I could have done. I've never studied business or anything like that. And I did throw myself into it, but it was a very steep learning curve.
Oh my God, spill the tea. What were the mistakes?
Oh, so many. I think maybe one of the biggest ones was that I felt like I had to do everything on my own, and
Mm.
like it was embarrassing to like to
Ah.
own up that I didn't, yeah, to ask and to like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So I think that was definitely like a
Mm.
big learning for me. And then just like not speaking to my customers enough, and kind of making a lot of assumptions, spent loads of money on ads, which is kind of, especially when things aren't going well, it's so tempting to just like throw money at ads and be like, oh, maybe this will save me.
Yeah. It's like
Um,
gambling.
yeah, it
What if
is.
this one works? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I think those were some of the big learnings, and then like more niche learnings for like the marketplace sector.
Mm.
But yeah, but like you were saying, I never regret it, even though like closing that down was really difficult
Mm.
and a bit traumatizing. um, Now I can't. I was actually having this conversation with my husband the other day, because I was like, it's crazy to think how different my life is and how much happier I am now, even though it's still probably as stressful, but a very
Yeah.
different kind of stress.
But I think it's always interesting that, like, if we just take it as fact that stress will exist, like if you
Yes.
want to work hard, stress exists, but it's like, is it stress that you chose or is it stress that's been imposed?
Yes.
And that's the kind of like the former is one that you can have a little bit more resilience to.
Imogen, that's possibly the wisest thing you've ever said, and it rhymed.
It did rhyme.
Did
I
you
didn't
just make
expect
that
it to
up?
rhyme.
Wow.
Oh gosh, we
So
should have more
wise.
podcasts on a Thursday
Yeah,
afternoon.
I feel very Stephen Bartlett at the moment, very Diary of a CEO, but I definitely think that there is some crazy stat around the amount of founders that like have failed in things before they were a success. I don't know it because I'm not a CEO, but it's a thing, isn't it? Like very few founders thrive in the first idea that they ever have. So absolutely, like no level of failure there whatsoever. And what an amazing, albeit terrifying way of learning and then putting all of that really useful knowledge and information into something new and something innovative and something that's I've never seen anybody else do with the Loom app. Like, talk to us about that and how that came about.
Oh, and I guess as a like sub-bullet to that question, we've done a little introduction to Loom in the intro, but we want to hear from you what it's all about as well.
Sure, yeah, of course. So I guess to start with where it came from was really kind of the death of the first business. So when I'd made the decision to close that down, I spoke to all of our customers to try to understand who they were and kind of where I'd gone wrong. And I kept having the same conversation again and again where people were saying, like, I do want to shop sustainably, but either they couldn't find what they were looking for, or they were saying, I have this wardrobe full of clothes already that I don't want to get rid of, but I never wear and I don't know what to do with them. And so I started connecting them with designers that I knew through my network to get those pieces reimagined and redesigned. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And I think a lot of people don't realize that there's all these amazing designers and artisans out there who can help you like redesign your clothes, dye them, embroider them, personalize them. And seeing how excited people were that this was even in an option did make me think, oh, why isn't there somewhere where you can just kind of go and browse these designers, speak to them and get your clothes redesigned? So that's where the idea came from. And I was a bit scarred from closing down the previous business. So rather than jump straight into this, I pitched it to a competition, an accelerator, and we got accepted onto that. And that gave us some funding to then launch the first version of the website. So very different approach to the previous time.
Yeah. The thing that comes to mind, and I bet you get this question, actually, I'd be intrigued to know what is the sort of the highest type of inquiry on the website.
Yeah.
But I bet wedding dresses are a really big source of like, holy moly, I've spent many pounds on this thing that I think, you know, the cost makes sense during the wedding process, but afterwards you're like, oh no, what do I do with this now?
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. So a lot of the orders that we have are for bridal redesigns. I think the most popular thing we do is dye a dress and take the train off, because also the train normally gets quite trashed when people asking.
Something grinding.
Yeah, exactly. But then we also have people be really creative. So we had a bride turn her wedding dress into this zebra print feather bag, which was amazing.
Wow.
Suits, jackets. So even we had a corset recently, which was really cool. So loads of different ideas. And it's really lovely, like the sentimental value that you get to keep wearing again and again.
And also, and I'm sure Abby might mention this as well, but we always find fashion that has a story to it is just so much more interesting. And last year we were at Wimbledon and we were asking people about their outfits and whether they were recycled, reworn, reloved, etc., etc. And the woman that we got most excited about was the woman who dyed her wedding dress
and was wearing it to Wimbledon. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
And she looked awesome.
Oh, wow.
And it just like, I love the fizz of you know, you can just see it in someone when they're wearing it, that like it just means so much and they're so proud to be able to continue wearing it as well.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it is one of those things where you kind of just can't wait to tell someone. Like if someone compliments on you on something and you're like, oh my God, it used to be my wedding dress, or it used to be this. Or
When you put something like that on and you're like, you walk into a room, ask me about my outfit,
Sure.
ask me about my outfit. And then no one does. And I'm like, do you know what, sod it. I'm just going to be like, so I
Tell
just
them.
have to tell you, this is actually my wedding dress. It's like when it's your birthday and you're in Tesco and you're like, I need to tell someone. So relatable. But I think one thing that I struggle with the most in how I feel about myself is my complete inability to thread a needle, to replace a button, to be in any way imaginative or crafty. And like you say, with social media, it can be an overwhelming place because once you get fixated on one thing, you then get fed it. And I tend to just constantly be fed these incredible people who have this. I think there's a girl called Sophie T. Art who I follow who's amazing.
Yes, same.
She goes into charity shops, buys things and says, look, can I buy this? Can I then paint on it? And then I'll bring it back to you and you can resell it. And obviously people go and pay quite a lot of money for the items that she has like jazzed up. And what a brilliant idea to turn something which would otherwise potentially go to landfill, because how many items that are sat in a charity shop actually do get sold by the charity? Very few. And I get frustrated at my lack of creativity or ability or skill set or anything, where actually this is a really nice way to make me and anybody else who, like me, wasn't taught to sew properly at school, a little bit of hope in still having that at their fingertips, quite literally through an app, and trusting that people with the skill set should be paid and should be celebrated and should be trusted with those sorts of jobs. So I just think this is, I mean, it's one of those, why didn't I think of that ideas, isn't it, when you see it? So I'm so intrigued to hear how it works in practice. So talk to me about, like, I'm on the app, I see somebody, how does it work? I've got a denim jacket and I want it changing.
So you upload a photo of your jacket and then we give you redesign ideas. Designers will reach out to you directly. They'll share sketches. You can chat to them. They'll send you a quote and then you pick your favorite, send your item off to them or meet them in person. They'll redesign it and then send it back to you. So it's great if you are lacking that creativity, which I am as well, because they have all these amazing ideas and we match you with designers based on your style as well as like your location and the skill sets that you're looking for. And so, yeah, it's just really lovely to see all the ideas that they come up with.
Oh my God. And I mean, you've been profiled in some pretty extraordinary places and had a huge amount of recognition. How generally has the whole idea been received?
I think people love the idea. I think it's just a new concept. So sometimes people are hesitant to try it. And I also have found that people have connotations with the word upcycling. So when people hear that, they think of kind of like DIY or crafty, when really these designers work for these incredible fashion brands. Like some of them even work for like very high profile people. I was like, I probably shouldn't say actually. But
Tell us
then
one.
just in case. But yes, so the average order value for us is £200. And when you think about all the work that goes into it and the care and the amazing quality, and you're getting something completely tailored to your body as well, it is really amazing. It's an amazing experience, but also amazing value. But sometimes people don't really think of that when they hear the word upcycling. So that's why we use the word redesign a lot to help get across that kind of level. So that's been quite interesting for us as a team to learn misconceptions, I guess, around upcycling.
Yeah, and I think there's also an element of, you know, if you are spending money but not getting in your mind, you're not getting anything new, but actually you can prove that you're just using something, fabric or whatever that already exists, that you already have. That's a change in mindset as well, isn't it? Whereas there's, that like the kind of what do people call it? I've been so long out of the fast fashion world that like retail therapy, if you're going to go into Zara and spend £100 and it's new stuff, it's like shiny, it's that adrenaline spike, isn't it? That I guess you're maybe not getting in the same way with this, that again, it needs like a psychological change. So that's a big challenge, I guess, for you guys to reshape entirely the way that people value spending money and like buying clothes.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we always say you're basically shopping from your own wardrobe and you're getting the ideas straight away, but you do have to have that kind of wait the 2-3 weeks until it's ready before you get it back. But yeah, it is a completely different way of shopping. It's not like seeing something on Instagram and being like, order straight away, and then it's there the next day.
Yeah. But it's just interesting because I guess like actually the bigger the project, the bigger the transformation, the more people probably understand the value of that exchange. But
Yeah.
those little tweaks are probably the ones where they're like, it's harder for people to wrap their heads around, even if the designs are absolutely fantastic and suddenly an item that you haven't worn for 1,000 years, you're suddenly wearing every day. So I guess like encouraging people to be really bold and brave must be quite a core part of its success as well.
Yes, I think there's definitely that element of trust with the designers. And when people see their previous work, when they chat to them, when they get the ideas, I think that's the point where people are encouraged to be bolder with their choices. But sometimes, we also don't want to push someone into doing something that they wouldn't be comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, you still want something that you will love and that you will wear again and again. So sometimes people come to us and they have the vision and they're like, this is what I want to get done. Just match me with the right person to do it. But I think most people want to have some kind of guidance or at least some inspiration. And then it's just about finding what is perfect for you. But I think that's what's so special because it is one-on-one. So you're not just picking something off the shelf. We can literally create anything from what you have.
And so the process, how much are you personally or you as the brand and the app involved? Or are you kind of like the Deliveroo? Is that the right comparison?
Not to reduce what you do, but are you
I haven't used Deliveroo in years. I don't even know why that's where my mind went. But like do you ever touch, see, feel the garments? Is it all just a case of kind of connecting people and being this amazing platform of trust, if you like? It is that element of trust, isn't it? It's saying, look, we bet these guys, and so you should too. How does it work?
So we are there with you every step of the way. So when you post your project, we reach out to you. We can answer any questions that you have, because sometimes you have questions that you might not feel comfortable asking the designer directly. And then we can help with the matchmaking and check in. Also, once you've placed your order, every step of the way with both you and the designer. So we're always there. It's not like just like a delivery where there's no human that you can chat to. So we're always there. So it's more of like a concierge service, I would say, rather than just a kind of digital platform. We don't necessarily touch every design as it comes through, because we don't really need to, because we really trust our designers and they are so carefully vetted. But we, the very rare occasions maybe someone isn't happy with something, then we're always there to support as well. And just to give an example, normally that's when someone's forgotten that they've spilt something down their dress and then they've dyed it, so one area has become maybe a little bit darker than the rest of it, or so we had that one time, and then what we did is we had this beautiful embroidery put over it to kind of cover that. But we're there every step of the way.
How do you vet the caliber of the designers? Because as a non-fashion person whose sewing skills stopped at about age 13, like when does someone who's like very crafty and like very adept at sewing and doing projects, when do they tip over into the territory of being a designer? And how do you sort of make that distinction between those two camps of people?
So I'm also not a designer, but our team are made of designers. And so they have an amazing instinct and the experience to understand when it's reached the kind of level that we need it to be. So when designers apply, they submit their portfolio and their experience and submit photos of both inside and outside the garment. And normally that's quite telling when you see the inside as well as the outside to kind of see the quality level. I guess the kind of tipping point really is, would we feel comfortable if our customers receive these items? That's really the question that we're asking. And there's also, it's not just about the quality of the items, although that is the most important, but it's how they communicate with our customers as well. So those are the kind of two things that we're vetting. And then we have an extra level of vetting for designers who are doing bridal or VIP projects, where we ask for a higher level of experience.
I just wouldn't know where to start, but I do. I mean, I was thinking about, because obviously we knew that this interview was coming up, and I was like, I really, really, really want to give the app a go in some way, shape, or form. And I was like looking in my wardrobe thinking, what could I do? And then I had a light bulb moment. Daisy, I don't know if you know, but I just love a neckerchief. It is my signature item. I am very rarely without a neckerchief. Any outfit, I personally believe, is enhanced greatly by a neckerchief. And brilliantly, you can find tons and tons and tons in charity shops or vintage or secondhand. And every now and again, my family will buy me, or my friends, because they know I love them so much, a very, very special scarf or neckerchief. And some good friends of ours bought me a Burberry scarf for my 30th birthday, which is so beautiful, but it is a longer scarf, and I am just struggling to figure out how to tie it. But
Yeah.
before I came on the podcast, I tried to make it work today. And I was like, it's just such a shame that I can't suss out. It's very much an outdoor scarf because of its shape, and I want it to be an indoor scarf. And I took one look at it and thought, hang on a minute, that instead of being one not very easy to wear scarf could easily be 3 neckerchiefs that I rotate all the time. But obviously it's Burberry scarf, like it's high quality, it's high price point. It's not something that I just want to take to my like local dry cleaners and see if they can chop
Take
it
your
up.
own scissors too and just have a little go.
No, I don't. I did look at it and think, could I? No, I can't. But this, I think, is a really good. It's not going to be changing it greatly. It's not redesigning it entirely, although it kind of is. It would be quite a straightforward job, but I think this is the type of thing where I hope I would be able to use the Loom App to really.
Yeah, let us help you. But yeah, that's
Exciting.
perfect. And like you said, it doesn't have to be like a huge change to something. It could be really something as simple as getting something personalized or embroidered, or even just altered. So yeah, I love that. But that's such a sweet gift for your 30th. I
I
love
know.
that.
I know. And now I'm going to make it 3 gifts because
Yes.
I'm going to make it 3 scarves. I'm
That is
so pleased.
great girl maths there, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 Burberry scarf plus 1 upholsterer equals 3 Burberry scarves. So thrilled about that. But I was also kind of thinking about the process, and obviously your industry and your career very much working in fashion. But actually, the company that you founded is kind of a tech company. Is that how you feel? And what's your like tech ability? How when you like explain your job to people or explain your company to people, what do you tell people?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it is a fashion tech company, and but I am not a technical founder in any shape or form. So I have a really amazing CTO that I work with and an agency who have built the app. But really, I think it hasn't really held me back not being a tech founder. If anything, I think it helps me really be laser focused on the customer side of it, because that's how I'm experiencing it as well. It just means that I had to find people that I really trusted to be able to help us with the tech side of everything.
Yeah.
And I guess that sort of builds from your early experience of that, going from having to wear all hats all the time to how do you build a resilient team that can make the business really sustainable and how it grows.
Yeah.
I also, as Abby was speaking there about the scarf, my imagination was turning to my wedding dress, and I actually had an Indian wedding, so I have this raw silk skirt that came from India.
Wow.
It has espresso martini down on one side of it, and I can remember when it happened. There was those just so glasses that are so easy to just spill. And
Yeah.
my husband was next to me, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh no." Um, but it's so ornate that so many people just don't want to touch it. A dry cleaner will not touch it because they're too worried about it. And I'm like, I've been thinking, well, one day should I have children though? They'd love it as like a fancy dress item. And I'm like, no, it's too good for purely fancy dress. This is the item that I think I need to totally entrust to the Loom app, and I can't wait to upload it and see what happens and be
Oh,
totally open-minded, because at the moment it's in a box, it's doing nothing. So
yeah.
anything is better than that.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that sounds so special. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Oh,
But
can I want to do the fancy dress in it first. Can I try it on and play in it?
You can do that, but I I will say it was probably the opposite experience to what I'm hearing about Loom, because it was ordered from India, all like via WhatsApp. So that's a bit of a gamble, because I'd never tried it on. And when it arrived, my mother-in-law wasn't like totally happy with it. I couldn't really see what the issue was, but she wasn't totally happy with it. And she took it upon herself there was a sort of top component to this, and she took apart the entire thing like 4 days before the wedding. And I was stood in her kitchen topless, like, oh, I think I'm quite worried about this. After a lot of panic, she did put it back together. But in order to kind of rectify the situation, the armholes were so tight. And she was like, are those armholes a bit tight? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, you will be fine. It's one day. So just be warned that the armholes are tight, Abby.
Okay, well, I'll just do the skirt, I think. I won't even try and squeeze my muscles into that. I'll just put it on after a bottle of wine or something.
Customer experience, I give her negative points for that.
Yeah. Off the podcast, we'll mention her name, Daisy, so that if she ever tries to get on the Loom App as an upholsterer, you can be like, Ninu. I'm really, really keen to know what the future of the brand looks like. I think you're probably at the earliest phase of setting up a business of any of our guests that we've spoken to, because we've spoken to some really cool female founders in the past. So this is amazing to speak to somebody who's a year in, much like the Green Queens podcast. We've got probably not a dissimilar birthday, Daisy, which is fun. So what does the future look like for the Loom App?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a really exciting and huge year for us. So we're actually in the process of a rebrand, which is really exciting. So that's going to be announced soon. And we have loads of exciting updates for the app itself. At the moment, it's been quite manual, but we're actually updating it. So you'll basically talk to Loom, and you'll be able to generate images of your ideas and designs, and the designers will be able to do that too. So basically just trying to make it as interactive and as easy as possible. So we've got all of those kind of things happening. And we also want to open a Loom studio so that we can rent out space to our designers. You can come and meet them in person, have appointments with us, have our events there. So yeah, very exciting.
I think this is magical. I'm such a tactile person, and I really want to see people and touch fabric, and I want to go and have somebody measure me. I'm so useless with a tape measure and all those sorts of things. So I think that is brilliant, and what a really amazing way to be able to potentially redesign our high streets. Imagine if you could have like Loom studios in some of the big cities all around the world. That would be wicked.
Yeah, I would love to do that. We actually do have a wait list of people wanting to join, because we're only in the UK at the moment. So both designers and customers, and most of them are based in New York. So probably not this year, but maybe next year. Would love to then launch in other countries as well.
Wow.
God, what an incredible journey, and what a cool thing to be able to say, to be like, lots of people want me to open in New York, but they don't have to wait. Like, that is
New York's calling, darling.
Yeah. And I really hope that, imagine if your 20-year-old self could hear that. Like, what a statement. That's so cool.
Well, it's kind of what we were saying before about like when I was kind of felt a bit stuck in my old job and I was so scared. Like now it's kind of, even though it's obviously there's lots of lows as well as lots of highs, it's really exciting, and I'm so grateful for all of these opportunities that are coming along. So I'm just trying to ride the wave.
Yeah, you're riding it so elegantly, and it's been a joy to kind of follow closely what you've been doing and then actually chat to you now. And I think there may well be people listening who are thinking of taking a leap, that have a brilliant idea, that are, have never done anything, a bit like you, and are finding themselves potentially in a position of pitching for the first time or anything like that. Is there any advice? Is there something that you really wish somebody would have told you early days?
I think the biggest thing is to just go for it and just do it. I think it's really easy to compare yourself to other people along the way, and I think that's the biggest thing that can hold you back. I think just focusing on what you want to do and just letting everyone else do their thing around you, not to compare yourself, is probably hard, but if you can do it, helps so much. And then I think also finding other people who are on the same journey with you, either at the same time, at the same stage, or maybe a few stages ahead, that you can ask for advice, is also really, really helpful. Like there's a few female founders that I reached out to like a couple of years ago, and I'm now really good friends with them. They're further along in their businesses, and they were just so generous with their time, and they've been so supportive. And there's been a couple of times where I've been like, I just don't know what to do. I feel completely stuck. And just being able to speak to someone that's been through that has been so helpful.
Oh, I think that is really amazing advice. And it's definitely a mentality that we want to reinforce on this podcast, that actually, if we do band together and have a bit of humility in how we conduct ourselves, then it is just better for everyone.
Yeah. Collaboration over what's the other word? And comparison. Like, it's the biggest thief of joy. And like you say, it's, I think particularly with social media, it is so easy to look. Even I saw my sister the other day. We live very different lives. She's a mum of 2. She's gorgeous and I love her. And every time I see her, she looks great and her house looks great. And I'm like, how do you have your life so organized? But she even said to me the other day when I saw her, I'm really struggling with the weather. Like, I feel really miserable. She was like, I just always see that you're having such a nice time on Instagram. I was like, Holly, that's the 5% good stuff of my life. You don't see me crying in the bath on Vinted. I'm not going to put that on the gram. So yeah, I think it's so true. We can all feel that way, and that is whether you are thinking of founding a company. Is that the right word? Founding. Yeah, floundering away. Yeah. If you're thinking of founding something, if you are just, having a bit of a down day, collaboration over comparison in everything is definitely, it's a mantra that Imogen and I live by, and it's how this very podcast came about, to be honest. So we totally concur. And it's just been so interesting to chat to you and to find out more about the app. It's such a cool concept.
Oh, thanks so much. And thanks so much for having me. It's been really, really lovely to speak with you.
Oh, well, I have absolutely no doubt that immediately as we hang up this call, we are going to rummage into our cupboards, upload these images, and I just cannot wait. And we should document the whole thing on our social media as well, so to keep everyone posted as to what our glorious creations turned into.
100%. And we do, we sort of end the podcast with the same question for every guest. And every time we ask it, they're like, oh no, we wish that you'd have given us the heads up. So we gave you a heads up on this, Daisy. So you know that this is coming. The question is, what is the last thing that you did with the planet in mind?
So this is probably a very boring one.
I love the boring ones.
We love the boring ones.
But I've been trying to do like one thing a month, like a switch out in whatever it is that I'm buying for the house. And so recently I bought the Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, which has been great, but very boring.
No, not boring. It's great.
And I think one swap a month, what a great idea. And I'm 100% stealing that.
Because I would say one thing probably runs out a month, if it's fabric conditioner or butter. Why did I say butter?
Let's be honest, that doesn't run out once a month. That is a once a week thing.
Once a week, yeah, I know, especially with these hungry husbands. But that is, have you done the subscription, or are you just buying it from a shop now?
Yeah. Although I have to admit, I think my subscriptions are getting out of control. I feel like everything's a subscription at the moment.
But is that not a bit more convenient for life? Like, you don't imagine that. I do dishwasher and washing tablets through Small, and to not have to go out to a shop to buy those things, I find really satisfying.
Oh, that's a really good shout, actually. I haven't tried them yet. So you recommend them?
Highly, highly recommend them. And they also fit in a letterbox, which I find really satisfying. So they just kind of plop in my front door, and I'm like, time to do some washing.
Perfect.
Oh, well, Daisy, honestly, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. And no doubt we will catch up again to follow the progress very closely. And thank you so much for giving up your afternoon.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Green Queens.
If you did and you'd like to hear more, we'd be so very grateful if you could like,
subscribe, and join the Green group chat for weekly episodes.